La telecamera attiva è quella fuori.
La civiltà dell'amore, fratelli e sorelle, costruite senza stancarvi mai questa civiltà. Lavorate per questo, pregate per questo, soffrite per questo.
Good afternoon and welcome everyone. Welcome to those who are here in attendance and those who are connected from remote. Welcome to this meeting session entitled The Value of the Individual in the Labor World, Utopia or a Reality. So we have been inspired by the title of the meeting, A Passion for the Person, and we're going basically to analyze what the main value is of the employees of companies. I'd like to have this discussion with Chiara Brughera, Managing Director of Shetech. Good afternoon. Anna Mareschi Danieli, Vice Chairwoman of ABS Acciaierie Danieli Group. Welcome to you as well. And Giacomo Frigerio, the founder of Blossom. Good afternoon. So today's session will be structured in two ways. In the first part, we're going to pose some questions to our guests, and then there will be a second part of the session in which you will have the chance to ask questions, as well as the people connected from remote will have the chance to send questions. You see there's an email address, valoredelsingolo@gmail.com. We will keep this slide as a background for you to note down the address, and you will have the chance to send the question. Questions will be selected, and the selected questions will be asked to our guests here on stage. So let us start from Chiara.
Eccoci, allora Chiara.
So here we are. Chiara, let us talk about Shetech. Shetech is a community, and the goal of Shetech is to serve as a booster. In other words, it aims at boosting women to enter the digital and high-tech market. Can you please tell us a little bit more of Shetech, and what does it mean for you that it is necessary to promote women in the IT and digital world? What's the value, the added value that women can bring to this world, even if, especially if they are women? So let me first talk about Shetech. You've probably seen this from the video. As Luca said, we are a community. The community was set up in 2009 in Italy, and our aim has always been that of bridging the gender gap in the IT and digital world. Bridging the gap, the gender gap in this field has always been a problem worldwide. There's a report that according to which that 132 years will be needed. It will take 132 years to bridge this gap. The situation has slightly improved because last year was 136, but before the pandemic there were about 100. So much still has to be done. And we specifically deal with the digital and IT world. Having a community means that we have tried to bring together people, men and women, who already work in these sectors or who wish to enter the IT world, learn new skills, or maybe change their professional role. So Shetech organizes activities and training courses to promote the skills of these people and support them in their professional growth, So we organize training courses on digital and tech skills, especially when it comes to the tech sector. So, for example, coding languages in the field of coding languages and programming. And in this case, the tech content is particularly high. So we're talking about basic skills for people who have no skills at all. And you sometimes see participants who include business women who do not have specific skills, who do not necessarily have to program, but they need to communicate with their developers, and so they want to know what they're talking about. Or sometimes you have young people, young women who may or may not have basic skills. Sometimes they do have basic skills, but they are not very much incentivized. They're not so much boosted. So actually, these training courses help them putting themselves at skate. Besides training on these technical issues, we also carry out training courses on soft skills. So, for example, we organize courses on personal branding, on public speaking, leadership courses. I mean, these are all topics that we deal with and that aim at supporting women in their personal and professional growth. Besides this, there are activities that we carry out to enhance the role of women in the tech world, and these are basically we create events through which actually women can share events and skills. There's a very important issue in this topic, which is the fact that there are no models, there are no examples of women working in this sector and who can tell about their experience. So we carry out networking activities, or we do interviews to managers as well as to ordinary women. So, for example, we interview, let's say, women working as programmers or data scientists, or who carry out marketing tasks, and they serve as positive models of women working in the field who talk about what they do in the sector, and they also talk about the difficulties. I mean, they sometimes say, talk about the positive things in their life as well as of the negative aspects of their work. So we mainly boost women in this sector mainly through these activities, and oftentimes we're also supported by companies who believe in inclusion and positivity, and who wish to do some more for their women employees, or wish to raise their awareness towards women, be they older or younger. This is a very important topic in Italy. The fact is that there are very few women who enroll in science, technology, engineering, or mathematical degree courses. They account for only 18% of the total number of students in these disciplines. So much work has to be done, for example, before in secondary school, so that young pupils can approach these sectors, and so that they can understand that these the positions in this field do not necessarily have to be covered only by men. So maybe there's a cultural bias in this respect. So boosting women in this field means also this. It means bringing younger generations of women closer to this sector. So as regards the value that can be brought by women as such to the sector, I think that the value they can bring is the value of the person, irrespective of the fact that the person is a man or a woman. So in this respect, diversity and inclusion are addressed by everybody. But if you do not deal with these issues, sometimes they simply dismiss the issue by saying that women have to be included. And but the fact is that we need to make a cultural change and convince people of the fact that bringing a different perspective, that of a woman, can really bring about advantages. And there's also many studies showing that diversity also has repercussions on the performance of companies. So it can benefit the competitiveness of companies simply because you have a more diverse team, so you can have more creativity and even a more competent team. So this in itself can bring about more value. There's another aspect that has been particularly striking for me. I have to say that I am very much interested in these topics. And actually, fact is that diversity is a topic that, especially in the so-called Z generation, in the generation aged between 18 and 25, so diversity is an issue that they very much want in companies. So they look for diversity and inclusion, a favorable working climate, and a very clear working pathway, and also the fact that these aspects are favored in their working field. So these are values that even for those who are looking for a job, these are the values that are mainly sought for in the working labor. When it comes to your last question, so actually the value brought by a woman as a mother, I mean, that's a value that I also questioned myself, because actually I became a mother 7 months ago. I came back to my working place last May, and so I wondered, actually, am I bringing something more as a mother now that I am a mother? And here too I started reading something, and as far as I am concerned, I can say that I have learned to manage sudden events and sudden things more flexibly. And I learned that not everything can be kept under control. And after reading some reports, I've learned that many parents have soft skills, certain soft skills, because they are parents, because of the fact that they are parents. And these are precisely the soft skills that companies are looking for. So that's basically free training. I read an article by a young woman who said, actually, I did this master. I learned a lot of skills, but not in a top MBA school. I did that at home thanks to my newborn child. So having to deal with children in the home, many parents have reported that they feel better prepared to serve as leaders than they used to be before, because they've become caregivers after having their children. Or some of them have had to manage, for example, an elderly parent. So I can testify this as a parent. And I found confirmation of this by reading these articles. I mean, the skills that you learn when you become a parent are ultimately the skills that the that are going to be the skills that are needed up until 2025, according to the World Economic Forum. I also read this report, Chiara. In my opinion, in this case, the Z generation are not only looking for inclusion and diversity. First and foremost, they and therefore they actually looking for all the rest. And this is something that has to be provided for by families. I mean, we have the task to explain to our children that we need to be very pragmatic, that we need to have very much down to earth, and not only after that can you look beyond that. That's very interesting. So before leaving the floor to Anna, can we do some publicity to this community? So the community works as such. I mean, everybody can join the community, be they men or women, any age. In the community, we have people ranging from university students to managers, businessmen, and developers. So very different profiles. You pay an annual fee, and then you become part of the community to then access all the courses and events. And these courses are both online and in attendance, where they are organized mainly in Milan, Rome, and Parma. And then we really hope we'll be able to expand our community in to other places in Italy. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chiara. Now the floor to Anna.
Anna.
So Anna. Danieli Group, you wanted to show us something that is very much linked to the metal and steel working sector. But actually you've shown us something that is very dear to your heart, which is training inside the company. So my question to you is the following. Based on your experience, what pushes, what drives big companies like yours in investing, increasing resources, increasing amount of resources in training and welfare to, set up an academy? Well, first of all, it's a necessity that drives companies like that to invest in these fields. When we talk about labor, we work about industry. And so when we talk about industry, we talked about productivity and added value. This is a virtuous circle. And this virtuous circle works if there's training that acts as a binding agent, as something that kind of drives a constant evolution process. In our system, in Italy as a system, as an economic system, unfortunately, this virtuous circle has sort of come to a halt. What companies need is unfortunately not available on the market. It is not available quantitatively and not qualitatively. And therefore, companies have to try to bridge this gap by themselves. They are left alone in doing this, and that's why we are the second manufacturing company in the world and the seventh in Europe, sorry, and the seventh in the world. We've been forced to become efficient worldwide, but by themselves. But this makes us really different from the rest of Europe, as President Draghi rightly pointed out today. If we had not to deal with the competitive, infrastructural, bureaucratic deficit we have, also the deficit in many different fields. I mean, just think what Italy could be. We have most of the times to do alone. Basically because of three main elements. First of all, because of the demographic of the population crisis that has been going on for 30 years. In 2030, there will be a ratio 1:2 between young people and the elderly. In 2030, the ratio will be 1:3. So many other problems, serious problems, are there to be solved besides the environmental sustainability. So the population crisis. So there's a misalignment between the work demand and supply. So in 10 years' time, we will not have anyone left to train. And as early as today, we do not find the skills that we need for companies' competitiveness among the young graduates. And then there's a third problem. Because of these problems characterizing the training and school system, we have a top-down innovation. In other words, it's basically the companies that bring innovation to young people. And this is really wrong. This is wrong. I mean, the Digital Innovation Hub, the company incubators, startups, or research centers are showing us that innovation should be a bottom-up type of innovation. In other words, it should be the school system that basically creates innovation based on companies' needs. It should be the schools and universities that create innovation. So because of this situation, companies have to work hard, and out of necessity, it is the companies themselves who train. But training also implies cultural change, and training is basically done in our very young children, in babies, starting from the nurseries. I personally have 3 children. Nurseries open from 8 to 8:30, and then they close at 4 p.m. or 4:30 p.m. So actually, mother find it really, really difficult to work. We know that on average, a worker earns 1,500,000 euros per month, and nurseries cost about 700 euros. So actually, it is not economically and financially viable. So we set up this nursery with flexible opening times, and also with the provision of food to the babies. So that is because we want mothers to be serene when they go to work, to have no concerns of the fact that their children are left in the nursery. So this is basically what we saw, Anna. We saw a nursery, then we saw an education, a school, basically from 0 to 13. So basically the nursery, primary school, secondary school, and then the private schools. And that is because, I mean, without companies, you're not going anywhere. So also robotics. Robotics means that they do robotics ever since the first year in primary school, because actually we train what programming means to young children. It means explaining to them that if you give a command and there's something else doing things for you. So it's very funny because you see actually these young children who try and simulate programming. You basically start from that. And then we went on up until the middle school, and we will probably continue. But we didn't stop. We set up an academy because we need to bridge this gap in skills, especially when it comes to cross-cutting skills, soft skills. And so we set up a corporate academy providing courses on industrial design. Then we also manage the strategic lines of one of the most important technical schools in Italy, which is the Malignani Foundation in Udine, in the town of Udine. And we've also organized a number of activities that have been grouped under the umbrella of welfare activities. But by welfare, we refer to the fact that private companies have to basically bridge this gap, because the Italian system has so far not provided with this kind of services. It has not enabled us to basically bridge this gap that makes us different with the rest of the world. Italy is an exporting company, and this is even more so for my region, Friuli Venezia Giulia. Our market is the whole world. It's not only Italy. And because of this, we need to educate children who have a certain type of mindset with themselves. We have children coming from all over the world. I mean, this school have originally been set up for the children of the employees, but actually they have then been open to also to the others. And that is rightly so, because we wanted to be competitive and set up the school in a competitive area. And so that's why we wanted this term, the welfare services. That's because of the need of companies. That's because we have companies which are more far-sighted, other companies, other enterprises which are less structured, and which therefore cannot cope with these difficulties. But besides that, there's also a couple of other aspects where we would like to work, and aspects for which a company like ours, which is over 100 years old, can contribute. First of all, we need to convince this society in recognizing the role of women. I'm very happy of this applause. Thanks for your support. We as mothers give birth to children, and we basically provide a service to society, that is to say, the payment of pensions for our elderly. Without this service, the system would not be sustainable. The pension system would not be sustainable. So, actually, men and women are alike. So we become diverse, we become different only when we become mothers. And this is because of a series of responsibilities that we've also, wanted for ourselves. And then there's a second aspect I'm working on, but I haven't found a solution yet, is the fact that we need to strengthen the human brain. Of course, there's lots of tools, artificial intelligence, but we need to strengthen the human brain and try and make sure that those mechanisms that have been created within companies to assess the performance of its employees, in other words, for example, the employee reaches an objective and he's then praised for that these mechanisms do not block individuals, employees' innovation. Innovation has to be out of these mechanisms. It is these mechanisms that really block, that hamper innovation. But we need solutions in the very short run. That's very clear. Thank you very much.
Prima di passare a Giacomo, l'avete citata.
All right, so before giving the floor to Giacomo, you mentioned it, Generation Z. I'd like to ask a question to the three of you. Well, I think that our generation has this great privilege, but also at the same time the responsibility to be like the interconnection between the previous generations, the older generations, and the super young generations that fly very fast, much faster than us. So do you also see that there's a sort of inertia among our generation? How can we stimulate them more? Well, sometimes, our younger generations are a bit, well, they sit down and wait, maybe. They want to feel comfortable, and we see that they're a bit lazy. Do you also see that? Well, yes, I also see that. And we have to start from ourselves, the parents. We, the families, we are the ones that can create a certain mindset in our young people, and not just the outside world. So it's exactly from us. Education starts from us, from the families. This is why we have to commit ourselves to explaining to the youngster that they don't have to be perfect in this world, but they have to be brave. It's important to be brave. And we as parents, we have to be brave too. We have to grow girls and boys in the same way, which is not so obvious as we might think. And also, we have to explain to our children that it's never easy. Never has been easy, ever. You have to sacrifice yourself. I mean, you have to work very hard. My great-grandfather, went through many problems. Then he went bankrupt a few times. He migrated to Argentina with my mother, with my great-grandmother. Then he he started his own company. Then there was the pesos crisis in 1950. He went bankrupt again, came back to Italy and started over again. So it's never been easy to be businessman, to have a business. Let's remind our children of that. It's just useless to tell them that it's easy in this world because it's not true. So they have to work very hard. If they work hard, they will find a success. But not immediately, not straightforward. If you make mistakes and if you have your own failure, then you will grow more. And this is how we have to educate them. Well, I must say that I was lucky or maybe unlucky that I'm half from Bergamo, half from Brianza. So it means that I was, I grew up knowing that I had to sacrifice myself and work very hard. I'm 31 years old. And in my family, there are men and women, and also in my workplace, there are both men and women, and we have to deal with students. We work in communication, as you know, and there are many schools educating the students, and then we verify, we test those students as soon as they go out of the school, as soon as they finish school. As you said, it's up to the families, but very often nowadays the families are not there. And what kind of option do these young people have? What do? They watch their mobile phone all day long, and they're just used to doing everything fast, and everything is easy. If they go to YouTube, they will find many videos talking about NFT, about Bitcoins, everything easy and fast. This is very interesting, of course, but this is what they meet, what they see every day in their loneliness and in their digital world. So with regard to the labor market, we have to offer them an alternative, an option that welcomes them and explains to them that there's another option that, if they work hard, they will manage to make it. Well, I think that work is very interesting, and businesses have to know exactly what the new generations are like. The entrepreneurs have to put themselves at stake nowadays, and I think that the cultural companies has to change nowadays. This is our daily challenge today with young people. My children say that I'm a boomer, and they speak a language that is very far from me, and I feel old when I listen to them. But I don't have to speak that language, of course, but there must be a common language. There's a common language which we can speak as human beings, and later on I will show you a video. You will understand better what I'm referring to. I agree with you. I agree with what you said. What I see as a community, what we see being a community that joins young people, especially women, in my case, is I see that they are willing to act, to do. Sometimes they need to be encouraged. They need to be pushed a little bit to change their job, maybe sometimes to launch their startup. They know that they will have to work hard. They know that it won't be easy, but sometimes they are not brave enough, and well, so we need to help the young people to have trust, confidence, to believe in themselves. But I agree. Thank you. Giacomo, do you want to launch the video, Giacomo?
Quando apri la porta di Blossom.
When you open Blossom's door, you see there it's written in large letters on the wall, "We fight for beauty to make the world a better place." This is our purpose. In order to do things well, you have to fight. And what is nice to look at, it also fills our hearts. This is what guides us every day in everything we do. When we have to meet a new customer, when we have a project that seems too big for us, when we think about being creative, when we make a commercial, when we prepare lunch for our staff, when we tell a story or a tale to our children, when we decide about our summer holidays. Because, sometimes you have to use your heart. Always you have to use your heart, because once you heard your heartbeat and you felt alive. So let's do it again. Well, make your heart vibrate in all the things you do. Some other times instead you felt alone and lonely, but somebody arrived, looked at you and took you by hand. You've grown up, and now you know that that can be the look, your look towards the person that is next to you. Sometimes you're scared and you are paralyzed. But then you think, if the captain hadn't left from his safe port, now the world wouldn't know that there is another world on the other side of the ocean. It's beautiful. So you also leave with your sailing boat. Don't stop. Keep on exploring. Open that window. Get on that plane. Taste that dish that has a faraway flavor never experienced before. Switch off your phone. Ask why. Discover. Love the world continuously. Stop keeping behind, keeping in the backstage. Train yourself. Fall down. Hurt yourself. Learn from those who are good. Be criticized and get ready to fix the stage so that you will get a big round of applause. And above all, remember that anywhere you are, if we have met, it's because we have something in common, and this deserves our respect. This is our culture that guides our daily life, where each one of us is looked at as special and unique, as a precious stone hidden and then found by modern gold seekers, fighters are looking for beauty, thirsty for something wonderful and surprising.
Allora, Giacomo,
All right, Giacomo, as you said, modern gold seekers. Well, I really like this concept of the gold stone or gold nugget. Well, that is probably next to us also in the workplace. I'd like to ask you, well, being a businessman means having clear ideas, and at the same time, you need to have a well-established structure. And at the same time, you certainly have unique resources. Well, you may also have some expectations when it comes to your employees and workers. So my question, based on your experience, is how do you manage to involve your collaborators in trying to reach your ideas and your objectives, the things that you want to accomplish as a businessman? Well, this video, the video you've just seen, this is a video that we show our new employees on the first day of work, and this is a sort of a challenge for them. So we challenge them. This is a new way to be at work and to work. So first of all, it shows the rules of the game. And there's nothing to be taken for granted. I don't have specific expectations. I don't expect them to be fearless, to use their heart. Of course, people can have some fear, but there's a different way to be at work, to help each other. And this is why we challenge them. So this is our set of values, as you've just seen. And then at the end of the year, we sort of judge them, or they judge themselves. There are some objectives that have to be measured, and there are different ways in order to reach those objectives. You could stab your colleague in order to get to the budget, or otherwise you could collaborate with your colleague in order to create innovation, create value. We're going to be 15 years old this year. And when my sister and I started together, we didn't have a clear idea. For sure, we knew where we wanted to get, but clearly I was getting from another world. I was an art director. She worked in Africa. She worked for Reuters. Then we met again. We decided to have a blossom, that is to say, to flower up together, to blossom together. My mother inspired us when she used to put the flowers outside the bulbs, flower bulbs, and from those bulbs we had beautiful flowers coming up. So this topic of beauty, I would say that this is how our parents educated us, and this is why we put beauty at the center of what we were doing. And also our background, our professional background, our previous jobs maybe betrayed us a little bit. All right, okay, career, we used to like our job, but then we thought, do we really want to fight against our colleagues every day? And my sister Valentina and myself, we used to say, well, if one day we are going to have our business and we're going to have one employee working for us, we will have to treat that person in a nice way. And now I'm going to jump to today's business. We now have 70 employees. We have an office in Geneva and one in Madrid. And something that I really like is that we build our workplace every day with the people that we meet. I have a problem. When I meet people, I fall in love with them, with their weird stories. And with these people, I ask them, let's work together. Let's spend a part of our life together. And this is what innovation is about. I said yes to a person that used to read tarots, and now he's in charge of motion design. And he's in charge of, cartoons for Blossom. And, yes, he was a tarot reader. But I said, I don't want tarots read to me because I don't want to be scared. But I said, yes, you can come on board. And then there are some people who get to the last exam, university design exam. And, they well, then they never passed the last exam. And there's one guy that then became a motion designer, without graduating because he didn't pass the last exam at university. There's 1,000 stories like this. What I want to say is that, well, every person has potential. This is the value of the person, and you have to understand the value of the person. It means saying yes to that person and working together for one part of our life. Today I do have clear ideas, but 15 years ago I didn't. If 15 years ago somebody would have told me, one day you will be like this or like that, I would have said, oh, no way. Because, the world changes, so it's quite impossible to make forecasts. Well, in my opinion, you can't just build a company based on one great idea. Of course, one great idea can be a way to look at the future, but in my opinion, the most important thing is being together and working together. Just an example, all the profits at the end of the year, we have always reinvested the profits in our company. So after paying the bonuses, then we reinvested it always. This is what has allowed us to grow more and more, not because we want to be the biggest agency in the world. We don't care about that. Who cares? But because we are 70 and we have 70 different stories every day that bring us know-how, innovation, family dramas. They had children, they're having children. It's great. We have invested in our facility. It's a Pirelli factory, a former Pirelli factory. There were Chinese people making clothes for Dolce & Gabbana. During the pandemic, when everybody was closing down, we doubled our working area. And we even invested in employing one chef that cooks every day. We have a psychologist working for us. So, because I see that there's always people who need support. We have people that have some family dramas, and this is why we have a psychologist who's also a boxer coach. So, an absurd person, really a character, I would say. So, and then we also go on a walk together. But this is very important. Again, when we talk about focusing on people, this is what we want to do. We allow people to blossom together with us, and no story is linear. Everybody has a different pace. I could tell you, well, the story of a person who was employed, arrived, and had a job in the beginning, and then we totally changed his or her task. Every day you look at the people's eyes, in the people's eyes every morning, and you understand immediately if things are good or bad for them in their life. So this is what being a businessman or doing business means to me, relating yourself with the people who are next to you every day. So I ask people to be very serious and very transparent, very trustworthy, of course. I'm not saying that we all have to be friends, but we do have responsibilities towards the people that we have around us every day. Transparency and truth. This is it. Sorry, I'd like to finish by saying just one more thing. I understood one thing. I understood that if we wanted to keep on going and grow, we only had to hire people who were better than me. So this is fundamental. If you want to be a leader, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want the others to be in the right conditions, in the right conditions. So they have to be in the right conditions in order to do in the best way what they have to do. And you have to make one step backwards. So this is very important.
Quest'ultima cosa che dici, se la puoi...
Well, can you explain this a little bit? Because, it's not so simple to say and, to put this in practice. I mean, transferring your knowledge to your colleagues or giving value to your colleagues. Usually, we are tempted to be much more selfish. So how do you manage to well, to acknowledge the skills of the others and to give value to the others. Well, first of all, we need people. We need people who are great, who are really good at what they are doing, because otherwise it would be just about me and how good I am. I could have great intuitions and I could keep on investing in my place. But again, I repeat it, a company, it consists of the people that are there and what each one of them could bring to the company. And in the past, our factory, our office was an old garage, and there was a flag mentioning a Nirvana's song saying "Come as you are." So that's it. That's the point. Just come as you are and do what you're doing in the best possible way. You're right. You're right. Then, well, obviously, it depends where you work, in which field, in which context, of course. And I really like the way you think. I must say that we're very serious. Last year, we had a plus of 70%. So, you know, if you relate to people in a certain way, you will then have some very practical results. Otherwise, the company will fail. You know, a company is also about numbers, taxes, and if you don't manage to work well, then you will go bankrupt. Anna, would you like to add something? Well, actually, I'm thinking if I had to propose to my director to have a corporate chef, I'm not sure he would accept. Well, but I understand your point, I see, and then I agree. You have to invent new things, and you also have to see how your collaborators react. Something that might seem obvious to you or stupid to you, then instead the others really like it. And then you also have to be careful, because somebody might take things for granted, and you have to be able to be a good leader and remind everybody that nothing is to be taken for granted. All right. I totally agree. We only have a few minutes left, although we have a second part of this meeting. So there's a question for Chiara, but also for Anna. In my opinion, the value of the individual is also related to his or her talent. Well, you have to give value to the diversity. Isn't it better to give a value to a person for what he can do, he or she can do, instead of giving value to the person based on the gender? Yes, well, this is why I think that the topics of diversity and inclusion are like a buzzword nowadays. Well, everybody talks about it, and we don't really perceive the value of it. I think we have to give value to the people based on their talent, not giving value to women because they are women, but value to women as people. And obviously, the gender gap in some sectors does exist. We have to be aware of this. We have to be aware of the fact that the topic of diversity has to be taken into account. This is all. Well, yes. We should also define diversity. Diversity doesn't only mean gender. It means diversity, difference, and it could also mean choosing people that are more skilled than you are. Obviously, you will give value or recognize the value of a person based on what that person can do, but sometimes you're not able to identify that. Sometimes you don't know what the potentials of that person are. So as a leader, sometimes you do make mistakes, and sometimes the person is not able to perform. And a real leader will have to understand that this is his or her mistake. Sorry, it's not a lack of performance of the person we have in front of us. We as leaders, we have to expect from people what they can give us, not less and not more. In order to do that, we need to have a lot of experience, a lot of critical thinking, and the ability to understand the psychology of people. Yes, and we also have to be aware of the fact that we all have stereotypes. And sometimes when we have a job interview, when we look at CVs, when we are looking for people to hire, we keep our stereotypes. Well, there are some other questions for you, Giacomo. When you select, when you recruit people, which kind of values do you look for? Well, during a job interview, I struggle to show my value to the interviewer. What can I do? Well, it depends what your job is. It really depends. I would like you to talk to our HR manager, the person with green hair sitting in the first row. Yeah, I was also wondering what kind of job that person does, because I'm in, HR department. We have two levels for our job interviews. It depends, obviously, what kind of job you are applying for. If you're a designer, we verify your portfolio together. Some quite weird things have happened to you. Some fake portfolios of people that then started to cry when they had to do something in practice because it was all fake. And, you have to be confident of who you are and what you can provide, what you can give to the company. And transparent, and transparency and truth. You have to be yourself. That's it. Don't think that you have to respond in a certain way. Don't reply by answering according to what you think that the other person wants you to say, and your potentials will come up. Yes, of course you have to be prepared. You have to know about the company you are applying to. Yes, of course you have to be aware of your skills, and also you have to be prepared about the people you have in front of you. And also, if you go without your mother, that's a good idea. We still have a few minutes left. A very short question to Anna. Please, can you give me a short answer, Anna, because our time is off, almost over. I work for multinational companies. Sometimes I feel like a number. And so what is my value? Who will recognize my value? I feel like a number. Yeah, sometimes I feel just like a number. You feel like sort of just a number inside your company. Who will recognize my value? What is my value? Well, this is a huge problem. Multinational company. This is a very large company, of course, with a huge structure, with a hierarchy, many levels. As part of that hierarchy, that's a problem. It shouldn't happen, but this is quite normal. It can happen. The HR department should absolutely be ready to open up its doors whenever there are situations like this one. And as we were saying just a couple of minutes ago, there's also, the point of the leaders that sometimes don't want to show the potential or the skills of their collaborators. At the end of the day, these are not real leaders and not good leaders. So it's up to the HR department in those situations to understand if the leaders are good leaders, if they are in the right place. Yes, so there's actually another question. And, I think it's very important to create a dialogue. Very often in the labor market, we see that there's a manager clashing with the worker, the factory worker. So I think that it would be very interesting and also very important to build a dialogue, and sometimes it's not easy. So this question says, we often hear about what the company can do for the workers' employees' welfare, smart working, but what can the employee do for the company? Well, probably Well, this means that that it's difficult to set up a dialogue. How can we create this dialogue between the different parties, or the different players? We are not many. We are 70 compared to Anna's company, which is much larger. And I really get very angry, furious when people say to me, I didn't want to disturb you, and this is why I didn't tell you. Well, that's just an excuse. Well, the point is you don't have to be scared of putting yourself at stake, especially, or you don't have to be scared to express your point of view, especially when you work for companies that are available, that are there for you. So you are useful when you relate yourself with your colleagues from your own level.
Sorry, there was another question that No, I think it's fine. No. Are there any questions from the floor? We have maybe some time for a last question. No. No questions. So we have now come to a close. Before thanking our guests, I would like to thank especially people in attendance that the Rimini meeting is a unique event. It basically gives us the possibility of organizing interesting sessions, thrilling sessions like the one we have had this evening, but it needs to be supported. So for those of you who are here, there are desks, dedicated desks here at the trade fair. You can see them because they're labeled with the red heart and the dove of the Rimini meeting. And you can donate to the volunteers wearing the T-shirt with the indication "Dona ora," donate now. Since from this year, the Rimini Foundation, Rimini Meeting Foundation, is a third sector organization. So if you donate to the Rimini Meeting, you can have your donations be deducted from your tax declaration for tax purposes. Thank you very much for this very interesting talk. I wish you all a very nice evening to everybody. Thank you.
La civiltà dell'amore, fratelli e sorelle, costruite senza stancarvi mai questa civiltà. Lavorate per questo, pregate per questo, soffrite per questo.